Hey everybody, Frank Chen here with REIClub.com, and the site you'll need as a real estate investor. Today's video, we're going to talk about how to evict a tenant. Now the reason why I created this video is because I can almost guarantee there are people out there right now dealing with problematic tenants. So here are some of the main reasons why you should consider evicting them. First one is maybe they have late payments, they're always paying late, or their checks frequently bounce. Another one is they violate the terms of the rental agreement or the lease and have received written notice and have yet to correct that violation within the allotted time. Maybe they created substantial damage to the home or the unit, or they're creating discomfort to the landlord or surrounding neighbors. Maybe they don't take care of the yard. Maybe they have always a lot of noise complaints. Maybe they're always fighting with their neighbors. But make sure you find a pretty strong reason, okay? Another one is units being used for illegal purposes. Maybe they're selling drugs out of it, or maybe they're running their personal business. I had one tenant who actually ran a barbecue business out of their house, one of my homes. It smelled like smoke. It's incredibly hard to get out. They were overusing the oven, which created electrical issues, which relates to fire. So this kind of give you an example there. Maybe they refuse to execute the new contract after the original expires because maybe they don't like the new terms. Now understand, if there's any gap in contracts, you're liable as a landlord because there's no documentation, if that makes sense, okay? Now, probably one of the more frequent ones I deal with is non-approved residents within the dwelling. If they're not listed in the contract, they've been there for a few months, that can create problems for you because you don't have their contact info, and the more people that live there, there's a greater likelihood something wrong or bad will happen, okay? I know through experience. Now let's go and just talk about the eviction process. First, you have to decide if you can evict them. So I just gave you some of the major reasons that I just listed before, okay? Next, you have to learn the Landlord and Tenant Act. You can find this in Google, just search for it. It's the legal process for evicting a tenant, okay? And it's very detailed. You have to follow step by step. If you skip a step, the judge may decide in the tenant's favor, which means they can maybe stay in your home still. Now, the next step you want to do is you want to give notice to your tenant, okay? Each of the 50 states has its own procedure for evicting a tenant, so it's important that you brush up on those, on your states. But all share the common feature of having to give notice and then giving them a set amount of time to correct that violation, okay? Now, the letter you're going to be sending to them is called a notice to vacate letter, and you usually give them 30 days to correct their violation. Now, if it's a more severe situation that may cause a flooding issue or whatever big problem with the property, make sure you give them a clause like you have 48 hours to 72 hours of receiving this letter to respond. That way you know they received it and are taking action, okay? Once again, you have to give your tenant enough time to correct the action before you file the eviction. You must state the amount of time in which, you have to state the amount of time in the notice. You have to include the date in which you're going to be filing the eviction. A best way to deliver this, guys, what I found most success is certified mail because it's very hard to argue with the U.S. Postal Service. Other ones you can deliver it yourself or just simply leave it on the door, okay? Now, once they've received the letter and say they just have not corrected the issue, you're going to file your eviction, okay? Some states you can do immediately. Some you can do after the waiting period. So you can 30 days on the 31st day you file the eviction. You file at your local courthouse. They charge you a small fee, and then the clerk will process it and then give you a hearing date. At that time, the court will actually contact the tenant for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Now at this point, you're gonna get ready for court, okay? You want to gather any and all documentation relating to the property and the tenant upon their first date of move-in, okay? Includes pictures as well if you have them, which I do recommend. Include your lease agreement, a copy of the written notice that you did send to them. That's why the certified mail is always helpful. Bank statements indicating maybe missing rent payments, bounced checks, and also records of all communication between you and the tenant. Say if you guys communicate through email, text messages, whatever it may be. Always save that. But you have to be prepared. If you are prepared, there's a good likelihood your eviction will go through. If not, there's a good likelihood the judge will actually favor the tenant. They'll stay with the property, and you have to continue to deal with this hassle, okay? Now, say the judge does go in your favor and they evict a tenant, okay? The tenant has a set amount of time to leave the property. Some states are less than 48 hours and some allot up to 5 days. Now, if the tenant is still there after the given time, it expires, you're going to visit the property with the sheriff, and at that time the sheriff will actually remove the tenant and actually place any personal possessions of theirs on the curb. At that point, you make sure you bring a camera and document any major damages onto your home, or in which you can actually take further legal action if need be, okay? Now, as a real estate investor, a business owner, it's important for you to follow these procedures and laws that are associated with evictions. No matter how frustrated you are, do not attempt to evict a tenant yourself, okay? Changing the locks to the tenant's unit or the main door, removing the tenant's belongings, shutting off the utilities, all have very serious legal repercussions, okay? Most states actually allow tenants to sue their landlords who try to self-evict. So do not give up your power by making these small mistakes. So guys, again, this is Frank Chen with REIClub.com. I hope you found value from this video. Do me a favor, leave me a comment below about what you thought about it. Click the like button because it really does help us out. But more importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep you informed when brand new videos are posted every week. As usual, guys, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care, good investing, and bye-bye.